Yeah, take the phone. It's illegal for me to hold it in the state of Georgia. Another edition of Riding Home. Dean Legge, Matt DeBary. Going into the first off day of the season. I can't remember how many practices we're into. Several.
This was the fifth one. Today's Tuesday. Today was the fifth day of practice,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
All right.
That's what we decided on earlier. You saw, Dean, the defense today.
So I watched the defense a lot, and I'll write about this, on Dog Post. You probably will have already seen it by the time we put this broadcast, if you want to call it a broadcast, not broadcast, it's a podcast, out. They have so many bodies, it really can become sort of numbing. When I took notes as to who was with what group, I think Malik Herring, Devontae Wyatt were the edge guys with Jordan Davis as with the one unit. But there's so many guys in that area. Like Trayvon Walker kind of.
He's the smallest of that.
Yeah,
group.
he disappears the same way Nolan Smith seems to disappear. And I know those guys are damn good players. But that's the thing with Georgia, and days like today when you're watching the defense kind of underscores that. It's just the sum of the parts. There's a lot of parts, man, and the sum is pretty significant.
Yeah, did you see the secondary at all?
Yeah, I watched them.
Okay.
Again, it's
that's a big group of guys.
Yeah, and they're not. I watched David Wilson go by, and that's a put-together guy. And I know maybe we talk too much about their physical, being, but it does matter. Zion Logue looks the part too, for sure.
Yeah, I watched the offense today. When we first walked out there, it was offense and defense going at it. And I saw Kirby Smart coaching up, directly guys like Devad Wilson, Quay Walker, Channing Tindall. They were focusing on stopping the run, containing the edge. So he was really working with those inside linebackers and the cornerbacks to get off their block and make sure they, seal the edge, not let them get outside.
That is a huge part of football in 2019.
Absolutely. So he was. It wasn't surprising, but I did notice how much Kirby Smart was with Devad Wilson, especially early on. Then he went over and started coaching up the linebackers. So that was interesting there. But I didn't see Jake Fromm throw the ball a ton. It looked like it was a lot of Dwan Mathis. And
I will say this about that, what you just said. I would get, concerned, I guess, after a while. I know they know what they're doing. But if Jake Fromm's not throwing a fair amount of balls in practice, I think that's okay. Because, as a person who did play sports in college with primarily with their right hand, that can you can hear your elbow crack, you can hear your shoulder crack, and it's just you want to not do it now. Right. You want to wait a little bit, and I don't. Well, I did it for you. I made it crack, but no one can hear it. No one can hear it on the podcast. Right. But that's from years and years of doing too much with your right hand in terms of sports. And for Jake, right now it doesn't matter. But you go back, you look at the defensive side of the ball, and Quay Walker blends into Monty Rice, blends into whoever. They have built the machine here, and the machine is a bunch of guys that basically look the same, and the question is who can play the best of that group.
Yeah. Switching over to the running backs, saw some Wildcat stuff with James Cook back there. Not surprising. He's kind of the Swiss Army knife overall weapon, more as an actual true running back in this system.
Who was he with?
It was one of the backup running backs, and then there was one with him and Zamir White that I noticed when I first walked up. Zamir actually, all the running backs worked on running some wheel routes and out routes, quick catching the ball. Zamir looked like he lined up at wide receiver for one play. So
I would not be surprised if we saw specifically Zamir and Brian Herrion play slot or out wide,
which is what he looked like, and he catches the ball well for that kind of bigger back.
Yeah, he doesn't walk on water, but right. Between him and Herrion, if a safety has to deal with him, okay, but you're doing that so you can get a linebacker on him, and that's a major mismatch. I would say almost particularly with Herrion.
Yeah,
I mean Zamir is really good, but Herrion, it feels like can be very quick and very. The growth of Brian Herrion over 4 years has been impressive.
And I'm glad you said that because something I put in my notes is Zamir White and Brian Herrion were kind of, I don't want to say attached to the hip, but they were close together, talking during practice, shaking the hand, the dabbing or whatever. They were close. It seemed like they were buddies and friends, and they were kind of working on the same routes and would talk about it after with each other. But other quick notes from mine on the offensive side of the ball, there was a period where the wide receivers were practicing one-handed catches in the back of the end zone, which I thought was interesting, and I knew that's what they were practicing because it was right in front of Kirby Smart. And
so if they didn't want, you always want to catch with two hands,
right?
But if you
and they, Trey Blunt, I think, kind of missed his. Matt Landers missed his. Demetrius Robertson went up and snagged his, all in the back of the end zone with one hand. So kind of working on different ways to catch the football. So, and that was right in front of Coach Smart. So it was easy to see that's what they were trying to do.
Why is everyone calling him Coach Smart all of a sudden? When did that
start? Is it Kirby? I don't know.
It's Kirby. I mean, I don't know when it became Coach Smart. That's happened this last couple of weeks. I don't.
With me or everyone else?
No, with everyone's frightened all of a sudden to call him Kirby. I mean, his name is Kirby.
It's Kirby.
I don't know when it became Coach Smart. I mean,
ever since we heard him yelling and screaming on the microphone the past few days.
He can scream all he wants. My coach in college was way more psychotic than Kirby Smart.
Did you call your coach?
No, I called him Coach.
Yeah.
Hell no, I didn't call him Dan. I still call him Coach today, but I'm just saying, people in the media. I mean, Coley and Lanning both called him Coach Smart, and it's just interesting. Now, Lanning definitely has. Lanning's maybe 32 or 30. He's young 30s.
A little older than Schumann. Both are around my age.
Right, not super old.
Right.
But the curious thing there will be with the parts that he's got, because it does look at Georgia on their depth chart or whatever you want to call it on the defensive side of the ball, that they have certainly two deep at every spot, if not three. I think three, you're starting to get a little bit thinner at on the defensive line, maybe, but they've got their edge guys. I don't know necessarily. I guess Rochester would back up Davis. After that, I don't know what you've got in the middle.
Yeah.
But
another note, I don't know if they did this yesterday when you were watching the offense team, but they put Coach Hartley or Todd and the tight end group right in front of us.
Yeah,
so it's easy to see the tight ends. He gave Brett Seether a little bit of an earful.
He's been on him a lot that I've heard.
Yeah, definitely a different looking number 18 than Georgia's seen the past 3 years. Slimmer.
Those guys, those tight ends are all going to have to play.
Yeah.
And because of special teams. I mean, you lose Brent Cox. Brent Cox played special teams.
Yeah. He was getting on Bradford. They were pushing the sled bag with Todd on the back of it. He was saying, get higher. So I guess they were working on pad level and blocking.
Hips,
so that kid has no issues catching the football. If you've seen his film, I do think he's one of these tight ends who can play in the middle of the field and all. But it's clear that they want these guys to continue blocking their ass off and making sure their technique is good.
We talk about balance all the time with this offense, but there's no doubt that they're going to have to be able to run the ball. Why else do they concentrate so much, it seems like, on their ball catchers blocking? Because they know how dangerous that these running backs can be, and that 5 yards can turn into 50 real quick.
Yeah. Charlie Warner didn't say entire word while he was out there, but you can tell
he's not a talker.
He's one of the better, more technically sound guys out there.
Now,
leads by example.
Now, Wolf won't have the same impact, it doesn't seem like Kager.
Right.
I mean, Kager's going to start. I don't think that Wolf is going to start.
Yeah.
Even in double. Georgia used a lot of double tight end sets last year. They used a lot of double tight ends. Sometimes they had double tight ends with two wide receivers. Sometimes they'd have just Isaac in the game. But they used double tight ends with Charlie in a lot. Charlie played a lot, as well as Tyler Simmons. Those guys come back. They don't have a bunch of catches. They played a lot of downs at Georgia.
Another guy to keep an eye on, John Fitzpatrick. He's a big target. We'll see how much he plays. If he's that number two, then you're right. They're going to go two tight end sets, and you're going to see
he's going to be, and they're going to beat people's heads in physically. That's what that is.
He can block, but he's also a big-time target in the red zone. I saw him catch a lot of balls during the camp circuit. He obviously didn't do that at Marist when they ran the ball. So I've seen him catch and make some athletic plays in the passing game, but he's a big kid who can block.
Alabama used a kid. He was from Columbus, number 84, and his name has escaped me. They used him a lot. I mean, he never caught the ball, and he was just in there as like a third tackle, basically.
Or Miller Forrestal, the kid out of Cartersville, who John Lilly did not recruit, ended up going to Alabama. He's played a lot. But no, going back to your point, you need 2 tight ends sometimes if you're going to pound the football.
I wonder how much this offense will really change. I don't think it's going to be noticeable.
It'll be run first with maybe some more throws to the tight end.
I mean, I don't think you're going to see some strange odd stacks on the right hand. Now you're going to see trips right. There's still going to be look, you've got your of your 11 players on the offensive side of the ball. How many of your best players are on the offensive line? Of the 11, how many are in the top 4 are offensive linemen?
Probably 2.
More than 1.
Yeah.
So, that gives you the ability to do a lot of different things in the run game. And I just, guys like, Demetrius Robertson, who are playing as a sort of a alternative wide receiver or a slot guy, or not a number 1 or 2 traditional flanker or wide receiver, they're going to have to fight it out with the other team. The other part of the offense is sets. Like, if Georgia says, okay, we feel like we can really do damage with 2 tight ends, well, that means a wide receiver's not going to be out there. It certainly means a fullback is probably not going to be out there. So even though you got really good playmakers like Demetrius, they have to prove it so much, not that they're the best part of their position, but that they are the best players, period, on this team. And, I don't know if you can always say that with the receivers that Georgia's got. They've got some really explosive playmakers, but are they going to be effective more than being in a 2 tight end set? Last year, the answer was no.
Yeah.
Even with Mecole and Terry Godwin and like these really solid receivers, Mecole could blow the doors off of the thing, and they only had him out. They only threw to him so often.
Yeah. Going back to your other point, Georgia has so much depth. Not everyone can start. Not everyone's going to get a lot of playing time. But a lot of these guys who are sitting 2nd or 3rd on the depth chart could see a lot of meaningful time on special teams and make a lot of plays.
And the first 3 games. The first 3 games of this season are show me time. Because those guys are going to all play.
Yeah. I think you're going to see less and less walk-ons playing on special team and having more of these guys who... You're still going to still see starters out there, but guys like Quay Walker and maybe some defensive backs who haven't broken the starting rotation, who are good enough to see the field, I think we'll see a lot on special teams.
I mean, how is that really, when you think about the heyday of Alabama, and that's what Kirby's trying to do at Georgia, is build a better beast, so to speak. How often did you – I mean, Reuben Foster didn't start as a freshman that I recall, but, over time it was inevitable he had to play. How long will it take for Quay Walker, Channing Tindall, guys like that, Adam Anderson? I mean, Adam Anderson looks like a freak out there, man. But does he know? You want to go the correct direction all the time, and that's what the first year is about: is learning what you're doing. And it's time for a lot of these guys it's go time. And the first 3 games are going to matter. One of them being a conference game, but those guys are going to play.
Yeah. I think Kirby wants to get a lot of these games over with by halftime so we can play some of these younger guys. Experience is a big deal, especially when you get into the meat of your schedule.
Well, that Sugar Bowl may have been an ugly loss, but we know Aziz can play. We know David Wilson can play. They had good games.
Yeah.
And Channing Tindall, guys like that. Guys are not household names. I mean, Roquan Smith didn't hardly play at all in 2015. Yeah. What if he could have had as much experience in 15 as he did in 16 when they were going 8-5?
Yeah.
Could he have been even that much better? I mean, I don't know. So the same premise could be true in this case. We're getting close to home, though, and driving home. Matt, why aren't people? I mean, so many people signed up. Why is everyone, the thousands of people not listening to this, why have they not yet signed up to Dog Post? DAWGPOST.com. $1, $2 for 2 months right now.
I mean, we're going to see so many, I think 5 different 5-star prospects in August alone, more in September. We've got a lot of big-time stuff coming out. Lots of behind-the-scenes, what we are hearing is coming out. We got one coming out today. 2 practice reports that we're going to write about. similar stuff that we just talked about now. So if you're not on Dog Post, you're not all the way up to date on all your Georgia news.
I mean, look, all it is you put down $1. You get the first month for $1. Second month rolls around, it's $1. After that, I mean, bro, honestly, you're telling me that you can't do the $15 a month? It's, some people can't. I get it. That doesn't mean you can't go to the site.
Most of the people listening to this right now can reach in their couch cushion and grab $1 or $2.
Yeah, so go sign up, check it out. Dean at dogpost.com if you have questions. Matt, we've concluded a lot of tomorrow's an off day for Georgia. Wednesday is an off day.
That means you need to go to Dog Post more and more to get all your... There's no practice tomorrow, so make sure you read about the latest practices, the first 5 at least, over on Dog Post ASAP.
So, the first week, closing thoughts.
This team is big, and they're physical. Both sides of the ball, especially in the trenches. These guys worked their asses off in the strength and conditioning room this summer, and it's showing.
Yeah, you can see it. All right, thanks for listening to everyone. Go to dogpost.com right now.